This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Pursue Fitness, and I'm joined by promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, how you doing?
Good, my friend. You?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Obviously, it's good to hear that you're doing well. We're down here today for the initial announcement press conference of Andi Joshua's bid to try and regain his world titles when he challenges Andi Ruiz Jr. out in Saudi Arabia. Eddie talks about the decision to put the fight on out in Saudi.
A number of reasons, really. I mean, from a historical point of view, been talking to Saudi Arabia, been talking to a number of other territories for the last few years. I think every promoter in the world has been trying to stage an event there or in the region for a long, long time. We've done it, we've delivered it. It was a neutral venue, which I think saved us a few headaches with Andi Ruiz. He was very vocal about the fact that he didn't want to come to the UK. We saw their vision, not just in terms of 2030 vision for Saudi, but also their vision for boxing and the way they've already invested in the sport. Now, it wasn't just a case of, like I said, there were bigger offers, but for territories that had never looked at boxing before, a one-off event and sort of throw it away after. That's not really what we're interested in. It's about actually trying to grow boxing in the region. We've seen the World Boxing Super Series final go there. I went in Saudi, in Jeddah. It was brilliant, logistically, from an arena point of view, from the way it was received by the fans. You saw the Amir Khan fight recently, not the greatest fight in the world, but the setup was great, the fans enjoyed it, the way it looked, the build-up. And we're, of course, following in the footsteps of much bigger organisations that have been and experienced and enjoyed staging events in Saudi. The WWE, Formula One, the tennis, the World Boxing Super Series, the European Tour, golf. Obviously, some of the promo stuff we saw earlier, David Guetta, Janet Jackson, 50 Cent. This is not a new thing. And we can't be naive enough just to ignore the growth of sport and entertainment in that region. And we can't just, at the moment, mega fights only take place in Britain and in USA. So what are we going to do? Just do that for the rest of our lives? Or are we going to actually say, now there's territories that are investing in boxing, and this probably is just the beginning, not just for Saudi Arabia, but for other countries in those regions that now look and say, right, we want that fight. We want to do a fight. And that's only going to be great for fighters, boxing, that there is additional investment into the sport.
Having said that, having looked over social media, the initial reaction to it hasn't necessarily been great. A lot of UK fans and British fans wanted it here. Is that surprised you, the fact that they haven't necessarily taken to it the way that you might have liked?
We know. I mean, a lot of it is naivety in terms of what people actually know. So a lot of the complaints has been, well, you just can't go. So what do you mean you can't go? Well, how do you get in? You need a visa. No, when you buy a ticket, you get a visa. Saudi want to make this as accessible as possible for the fans. And so do I. I want as many Brits there as possible. It's not in America, it's not 4:30 in the morning, it's 9:30 UK fight time. So if you're not making the trip, you're going to enjoy it on your sofa on Sky Sports box office. If you're making the trip, you're going to experience the fight. A number of other entertainment events that will be announced in due course around the fight. I saw another one, women can't go. Women, of course, men, women, everybody welcome to this fight. So some of it's frustrating because some of it just gets put out on social media and everybody just believes it. We knew we'd get criticism for this fight, not necessarily just because it's in Saudi, but because the British fight fans wanted it to take place in Cardiff. But Saudi won the race to stage this event.
Now, obviously, I know you've been asked about it already, but reports surfaced over the weekend that Andi Ruiz's team hadn't seen a contract and they hadn't signed anything. What was your thoughts on it all?
I saw a lot of fake news being reported. Andi Ruiz has signed a contract to take part in a rematch. He has got some questions. And I would expect him to have questions about fighting in a new territory like that. Where is it? What's the hotels? What's the commission situation? What's the travel details, etc., etc. His team and I have been in discussions almost from the moment that the other fight took place to confirm to them where the fight would take place. They expressed that Andi didn't want the fight to take place in the UK. They didn't have the say, but we decided to give it to them on neutral territory, which they're very happy about. Both promoters, myself and Tom Brown, have written to the governing bodies to advise them of the fight, the date, everything. So, yes, he's got some questions that will be answered, but he's already signed for the rematch.
When you say he's already signed for a rematch, are you saying that he signed from the initial contract, which had a rematch clause, or are you saying a separate contract has been signed, saying Saudi Arabia, December 7th?
The first contract takes care of all the venue information in terms of the decisions, etc., etc. So there is no new contract. We've followed the original contract, which is we decide where the fight takes place, etc. We've done that. The governing bodies have been written to by both camps to confirm the fights, and that's what will be happening.
Is that where there might be a sense of unhappiness then from Andy Ruiz's side, but they haven't had more of a say in the rematch?
They don't get a say. But they have had a say because we've given it to them on a neutral venue. So we could have just said, Cardiff, sorry, but they got their wish of a neutral venue. Congratulations. And, you know, at the end of the day, Andy Ruiz got a remarkable gift from us. He got a shot at the world heavyweight title for a lot of money. And as we know in boxing, when that happens, there is also a rematch clause in place. So he is contractually bound for that fight. He will take that fight. He will try and win that fight. He may win that fight. But, you know, one of the reasons that he got that gift is with all the other terms that came with it. So, you know, I've seen various fake quotes online that he was supposed to have said, but again, contractually, everybody knows where they are.
And finally, before I do let you shoot, what are your thoughts with regards to the human rights out there? For example, how women's been treated, or the ban on alcohol, etc. What are your thoughts on it all?
Well, the ban on alcohol.
I mean, for British boxing fans, that's obviously, we know when you go to British fights over here, British boxing fans, they love to have a drink, etc. It's going to be very different for them out there to try and manoeuvre away from that. What are your thoughts on that?
As Omar said, at least you'll remember the fight the next day. For us, this is about staging a major event. And what I do know is all the events that I've seen out there have been so well received by the public, by the people. And if they can create events where the public are enjoying and from a sporting perspective participating in, it's great for the sport of boxing.
Eddie, thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.